Before you start touring homes with your new buyers or leads, there's one form every home buyer in California must understand. So it's up to you as an agent to be able to explain it. And then the only way you can is if you truly understand it yourself and what the benefits are. So this buyer representation and broker's compensation agreement, it is truly designed to protect the buyer. So here's the truth. When you're buying a home, you deserve your own professional representation. The BRBC makes it official. It says, I work for you and not the seller. It also breaks down how your agent is compensated, which in most cases still comes from the seller's side. There's no surprises, no hidden fees, just transparency and accountability. And it has a clear time frame, usually up to 3 months maximum, and you can cancel it in writing if you decide to pause or switch directions. If it's there to protect you and make sure your agent is 100% focused on your best interests. Let me tell you, that is exactly how I explain it to them, and they understand the importance of having this BRBC. Now, I truly believe that this form has changed how most real estate is done. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of buyers who, one, are afraid of this form, that they don't know how to explain it. There are buyers who don't return calls, who aren't on the top of their game, who aren't knowledgeable, who don't take the time to educate themselves, who just simply want a paycheck. And because of that, this form is actually making the buyer's agents who truly have their clients' best interests at heart, who truly are a professional, they're making them shine because they know that once they sign this agreement, they are going to work hard for their compensation. And so this form basically makes these buyers agents have to work for their compensation. Otherwise, the agent can basically say next. So that is very, very important to understand. Now, here I have a sample of the new BRBC that was released in June of 25, and it just is pretty simple. I highlighted what you need to definitely look for. Each one's can be different because you have different buyers, so definitely take a look at that. And also in red is where you would fill things out. Obviously has a start date, end date. And every buyer, like I mentioned, is going to be different. You're going to have some buyers who only want you to show them on Saturday for houses. So maybe they don't want, up to 3 months. They want it for the weekend. Or they only want it on the following specified properties only. Or maybe specific cities, counties. So make sure you fill this out, according to that particular buyer. And then the other part where it's important is down here in E, the broker compensation. So the amount of compensation, you can put 3%, 2%, whatever you want to get paid. But remember, when you send it to the seller, when you complete an offer, this number has to match whatever is going to be in your offer. Now, again, it can be negotiated, and if it does get negotiated to 2% or 2.5%, then obviously you would complete the amendment to amend the amount of compensation, unless you're having your buyer pay you the difference. Now down here, because maybe the buyer might say, well, I only feel comfortable paying you 2%, or that's all I have. Then you can just let them know that the payments that are received from the seller are actually going to get applied towards that 3%. So if a seller is willing to pay me 2.5%, then you would only owe me that 0.5%. Or at that point, you can say, you know what? I will be happy with 2.5%. So there would be no reason for you to pay me anything. Or you can tell them we'll renegotiate once we get to that point, whichever you feel most comfortable with. The continued right to payment for broker involved properties. So you can put here the continuation period shall be for, and then you can put the amount of time, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. And that's just saying that your representation does continue on whatever properties you've shown during that specific, during the specified time of your agreement. So basically, if the buyer decides to go back to ABC Street that you showed during your agreement, you have the right to the compensation, for that. Cancellation rights and notices. If you're non-exclusive, you can cancel upon receipt, or you can add in maybe 10 days, 15 days. Exclusive, a cancellation is effective 30 days, but it can't exceed 30 days. You could put 10 days, 15 days in case they don't want the full 30 days. And remember, to be exclusive, you got to mark it up here, the type of representation, and then also on paragraph 15, make sure they initial, because it has to be both. Otherwise, it's not valid. And then down here, this is actually a new form, the BFPI. This is actually a great form to have printed out and incorporated into your buyer agreement, or when you do your buyer presentation, because it helps you get to know your buyer. We'll go over that shortly. And then down here, other terms, admin fee, it could be TC fee, could be any other fees that you want to be compensated for. You can put them down here, so that way you can put them on the contract as well. So that is basically page 1 of the BRBC, which is, that's everything that you're going to have to complete. And that's typically everything that needs to be completed on there. There are other boxes and everything else on here, but they're not commonly used. So if you have any questions on those, you can always reach out and ask me. The rest of the pages are basically disclosures. It coincides. So D7, then you would go down here, and look for D7 and see, what exact gives it a little more detailed explanation. Here is paragraph 15 for exclusive, is where they're going to initial. And then, obviously all the information goes here for buyer and broker. Now, this here is the BFPI form, the buyer financial and personal information. So this here is a great form because it's actually going to help you keep you on track and get to know your buyers. So here, again, what you want to always do is lead. And when you make these forms, when you normalize them and make them feel it's the norm, they're not going to question you. If you ask them, hey, do you mind filling this out? Or will you have a problem answering these questions? That's not how you want to start. You want to just go into it and ask. So, how much of a deposit do you have available when you write an offer? And they might ask you, well, how much is required? And then you can get into that. What's the amount of down payment you have available? What's your source of deposit? So this is kind of like, doing some of the lender stuff, but they may already have a pre-approval. They may or may not. But this, again, is just helping you to get to know your buyer a little bit more. And a lot of times when you start talking about these things, it opens up other things too. And they start building that trust because they're talking to you. And so here, if they already have a lender, you're going to fill that information out. If not, then obviously, you can refer them to your preferred lender. And it's just, their current housing, what are they, a first-time buyer? How many homes do they own? Are real estate related experience? Are they, time constraints? Is there a date they need to move out by? Is there, or are they just kind of looking open? Why are they buying? Is it, they're getting married? Is it a relocation, or they just want to buy? And just other information. But this actually will help you. So I do recommend that you do have them complete this form, because again, this form will help you to get more information from them during your consultation. So again, before you start house hunting, make sure that you have your representation in writing. And it's not just a form, it's your peace of mind, it's your protection, and it's power for your buyer. So make sure that you are letting them know that.